but in a different way than us. They probably had technology that we haven't figured out yet because we went to combustion engines and electricity, and that's how we figured out how to use the human creativity and constantly innovating when we created technology that went in this way. But it's really possible that another culture 20,000 years ago or whatever had figured out a way to innovate the way we have with combustion engines and electronics, but in a completely different way. I don't know what they would use. I don't know how they did it. But if you imagine human beings going from the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago to what we enjoy today, that's a tiny blip in time when you're talking about 20,000, 30,000 years. If these people figured out some form of technology that we still haven't figured out yet, it's totally possible that that could be the case. And if that's the case, they got hit. They got boom, boom, comets slammed into the earth. A giant percentage of the population died. The people that survived clawed and scraped for generations, and they lived like barbarians, and they forgot everything. And then they rebuilt or moved into the pyramids
to
claimed
your
it
point,
as their own.
the Sphinx, which is obviously one of the most amazing structures of the ancient world, the Egyptians don't talk about it. Like it's just there, and they don't know when it was built or why. And it's just odd that you imagine talking about New York and never mentioning the Statue of Liberty in your literature. Like it doesn't make sense. So that I know they don't have any kind of good explanation for.
Well, I know. I'm glad you
and
brought that up.
it was buried for a long time.
The Sphinx was not buried for a long time. It was buried up to its neck.
Yeah.
The Sphinx also has an African face, and it's smaller than the shape of the rest of the body. It's like not in proportion, and it's much newer. Like it doesn't have the erosion. So they think that during the time when the pharaohs ran Egypt, that they might have redone that in the shape of, I forget which pharaoh they're attributed to, but there's some controversy about that. But here's why it's interesting that you brought up the Sphinx, because the temple of the Sphinx is the best evidence that it's older than people think it is. Because the temple of the Sphinx is a guy named Doc. He says those lines are a clear sign of water erosion. He's like, you don't get that kind of erosion from sand and wind. He goes, the way there's like videos that describe it in cartoon form or in illustration form or images, but those type of fissures are only created with erosion from water, from thousands of years of rainfall. The problem with that is they think that that's 2,500 BC. So what he's saying is, no, it's thousands and thousands of years older than that. And we don't know who did it. We don't know what happened. Like, you're just looking at structures.
Right.
It's, first of all, even if it's like 20,000 years ago, it's Africans. But Africans made the pyramids, 100%. You know how I know?
How?
They're in Africa. It's so dumb. It's maybe because he's a white man. Where's the evidence? Where's the culture? Well, now they have evidence.
Okay.
Beautiful woman who's amazing. But his wife, Santha. So, but the point is like he's just talking about ancient history. None of it has to do with race or anything. He's just talking about human beings. Of course. And they'll come up with all sorts of like pseudoscience labels they put on it and misinformation. And they were telling him this forever. And the more time goes on, the more they find evidence that he's correct. It's happening over and over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where they've moved the dates of complex civilization all the way back to 12,000 years ago now because of Göbekli Tepe. When they first found these fissures in the Temple of the Sphinx, they were like, there's no way, there's no evidence of any culture that existed that was sophisticated that long ago. It's a giant structure in Turkey that's like 12,000 years old.
Okay.
They know it was purposely covered. Someone buried it up. Someone like covered it 12,000 years ago. I guess they know that because the soil samples are uniform.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.